from 5 different constructors in the first 5 races now locates at a race that has produced 5 different winners in the last 5 seasons. It's round 6 of the 2012 Formula One World Championship, and this chosen location of the glamorous and wealthy becomes for this
now they do a practice start, and Nico Rosberg slow away, do a practice start. We've got yellow flags waving unnecessarily now because Rosberg's gone, but very calm away from the grid, very calm, nobody lighting up the rear tyres there.
Very serene indeed when they...
So already then we see that Red Bull are going to try something different with Sebastian Vettel.
Well, they have to. They haven't got the out-and-out pace this season that they displayed last season. On pole, of course, for the last 2 years before this, and they went on to win the race with Sebastian Vettel.
And more contact at the back. I think it was a Williams involved, certainly a Sauber with contact too, and pieces of carbon fibre, no doubt, all over the track at turn 1. It's Pastor Maldonado then that's making his way very slowly through Casino Square. He's the Williams that's got significant suspension down, kept himself out of trouble over on his left-hand side of the track as Vettel avoids just. And there then is why Kobayashi had a problem going through the middle, and Maldonado's already run into the back of somebody before he gets to turn 1. And it was the Ferraris getting away so well. And look at that.
They've had a look at all the telemetry and everything seems okay with the car. They have told him to look after the gearbox significantly, so maybe they can see that that took a bit of a bump. Team radio.
Turn 1, please check my tyre pressures.
No problem, those tyre pressures are good. We're looking at them constantly. Tyre pressures are fine.
High stakes chest here on the streets of Monte Carlo, and Mark Webber not seeming to me, Martin, like he's able to pull away too much from Nico Rosberg behind him as well. As they cross the line, the gap now 7/10 of a second. It's not a huge amount.
Well, let's remember though that they're on race fuel. They've got to get all the way to the end of the Grand Prix on this fuel. They're on the super soft tyres. Those at the front
towards this right-hander at Portier, where we ride on board with Felipe Massa in the 500-metre tunnel, and then approaching speeds of 180 miles an hour by the time he comes out into the sunlight.
So Petrov out then, did rejoin the race, as we said, and has done the fastest lap of the race, some 6/10 faster than the leader in the case.
A bit of clearance between the track for this afternoon as we head down to Ted.
Yes, where Kamui Kobayashi has pitted for an inspection of the car. They're going to have a look at it, see if they can fix whatever's wrong, and then send him out again. But just quickly on Rosberg, we're hearing that he's saying that he's going very slowly. He feels that Webber's
been for the last 2 races. And he's going to have to go some to win from 7th place at the moment, and Roman Grosjean with no chance at all. They're just not getting the final piece of the jigsaw put into the puzzle, are they?
They're not indeed, but Fernando Alonso looks like he's holding Felipe Massa up at the moment as Webber gets into the 1:20 20s just. Hamilton third, not to be part of the accident. Roman Grosjean walking down the outside of the pit lane at the moment, the crowd in front of us standing up and cheering him, and that's a sad day for him. It's a man who could so easily have been on pole position here had he have hooked the middle sector up of his lap, and now reduced to being a spectator.
And there's the man that thought in. Let's see if he can really go for it here in Monte Carlo.
Give him a little nerf, let him know you're there. Mark Webber, new fastest lap. Rosberg, Hamilton and co are very close behind him. The pace is very equal, all the way down really to Button in 14th place. So close is the performance, and the only thing interchangeable on these cars are the tyres and bases. They're looking at roughly exactly the same data, I would have said. Some teams have personnel upwind so that they can see the rain coming and see the clouds coming in. I know Red Bull put people out there, and some teams just put a helicopter up, whatever. You've got the advance warning of any kind of rain that's coming in, and where it's come fall away now from the leading trio. They're letting it become a 3-horse race, so they've now got to, I think, just keep nursing these tyres and see if they can get to the zone where it starts raining. But how many times have we heard that, Crofty? It's going to rain.
Quite.
Roman, can you explain to us what happened?
Well, a bad start at the beginning, and then I don't know exactly what's happened. I was facing everybody after 150 meters, which is not a nice feeling. But sad because I really wanted to finish the Grand Prix, but let's do better next time.
That means it's swerved through 90 degrees and parked in the garage, sadly.
See if he comes back out into the race. Kamui Kobayashi, Pedro de la Rosa, who said at the start of the week he didn't really like Monaco very much. Pastor Maldonado, Roman Grosjean already out of this race, and Petrov being put back in. But I can tell you that Sergio Perez is ahead of Timo Glock, so even though the Marussia went straight on, there you can see, gave the place to the Sauber, but
just a little kiss as he went past.
To let him know that he was still there.
Lewis 14 laps time, but they're caught between the devil and deep blue sea now. If they don't start pitting some of these super soft like on Mark Webber's car, they're going to start to lose a lot of time, which will affect their net race performance. So I wonder how much the teams are going to be caught weather watching now and take their eye off their old.
Just get a little bit of a sprinkling onto this track, and they've got a bit of data to rely on from Thursday afternoon, where of course it did rain during FP2, only briefly, but enough to keep the track greasy for a while.
And is this place ever greasy? But I tell you what, if they're right on the weather and it's going to be say lap 35 of Square, there's no doubt about it. Raikkonen just backing up into the pack a little bit. He's 7th, Schumacher's 8th. Hulkenberg and Senna behind them. Senna doing a solid job up there in 10th place. Then Di Resta 11th, just outside the points. Ricciardo 12th. Kovalainen then up for Caterham.
Coming over the harbour from the sea, the rain's on its way.
You sure they're not burning €50 notes out there or something on the boats to keep themselves warm?
There's a recession on, even in Monte Carlo, Martin.
Excellent. Nico Rosberg then is now 2.2 behind Webber, lapping at the same pace. In the 1 minute 19, you got John-Eric Byrne down there doing a 19.3.
Tyres on before the rain comes down. Now, if that's the case, then they're going to be forced into a two-stopper here, because they'll be on dry tyres at the wrong time. If, of course, the rain comes down, and it's still a big if.
Possible light rain in 4 minutes.
I didn't think that when I was driving out there would have been a nightmare scenario. As we know, down in the first corner where he had that contact with Grosjean, rubbed the markings off that right front tyre. So he's been in the wars early on, but luckily the suspension still hanging on. And Raikkonen with a proper queue behind him now.
Yeah, we've seen a few queues, but normally they're to get into a nightclub at around about 2 o'clock in the morning here. But this is an almighty queue forming on the...
To stay out.
So, Webber staying out, 21.1 for his first sector on this latest lap. We'll tell you what Nico Rosberg's first sector is when he completes it in a moment. Through Beau Rivage and up towards Massenet we go now, with Kimi Raikkonen down in 7th place. Michael Schumacher behind him. Then comes Nico Hulkenberg and Bruno Senna in the Williams. Paul Direct
then stays ahead of Rosberg, and Hamilton falls behind Alonso. Michael Schumacher's carried on, did a 1:19.2, which was a very good lap time. So he's in a very good shape then to clear. It's Massa about to pit. Schumacher's got a chance to get ahead of Raikkonen.
As first, Lewis Hamilton, by the way, his pit stop 4.3 seconds. Fernando Alonso's 3.7 seconds. That's 6/10, costing Lewis Hamilton there. But it has to be said, Alonso had been gaining on the whole lap that preceded that pit stop. As we go down to Ted.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher, I fancy, is going to win this battle of the pit stops between him and Kimi Raikkonen, because I believe Raikkonen has
lost a load of time in the traffic. So Michael Schumacher will indeed, once he gets rid of that pit lane limiter now, have a great chance with some clear air. And through comes the Toro Rosso. He should be in front of that. There's a shortcut effectively. And there he goes, and that's worked very well indeed for Michael Schumacher. Raikkonen only just coming into the first corner.
He's down at about 12th place at the moment. Well done to Rain Carter-Ken. That's how you get out of the way.
Well, that's how bizarre 2012 is. A 1:18.4, that's a second quicker than the lead of Vettel and nearly 2 seconds quicker than Webber and Rosberg. And they must have identical fuel loads. Yeah. They've all got to get to the same...
Pre-planned that in the briefing earlier on, because we haven't heard anything on the team radio feed. But just quickly, what's going on a bit further up the field, we can see that Mark Webber is actually just taking his time to get some heat into the tyres. That's what some other teams believe.
To go back to that incident involving Sergio Perez and Kimi Raikkonen as well, Martin, stewards now looking. Yeah, Red Bull still waiting patiently.
The problem for Jensen is behind Di Resta, who cleared Hulkenberg in the stops. It's Raikkonen
and he's going to be
and
behind
Senna.
Kovalainen possibly here, Martin. So you just looking over the screen. Kovalainen's going up the hill wheel to wheel with Jensen Button and stays ahead of him. And McLaren would have wanted Button ahead of Kovalainen, surely, coming out of the pits there.
Yeah, well, he was behind him, wasn't he, earlier on?
Peak in 18th place. Lewis Hamilton just been told, just telling his team on the pit lane radio, at this pace, my tyres won't last very long. We see a replay of Sergio Perez coming into the pits, and that's what earned him a drive-through penalty in this race. 22 seconds behind Sebastian Vettel, but he is lapping about 2 or 3 tenths of a second faster. And that's the hurry up from Rob Smedley.
Yeah, and what Rob's pointing out there is when Vettel pits, he could drop in right into the middle of the Hamilton-Massa fight, 4th and 5th at the moment. 5th and 6th rather. So that is where, if Vettel had to pit now and without the race,
They keep on dropping. They keep on dropping things off the pit board. So they keep hitting me in the head.
Somebody dropping things from the pit wall. Lewis Hamilton, bit crackly, that
did you
radio
say
message.
pit board or pit wall?
Yeah, no, it was pit wall, and then he's going to be just slightly ahead of the 20-second margin when Alonso crosses the line. Can he keep it going for another two laps, and is that going to be enough? It's been a sensational drive, this, from Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, and you've got Alonso's in the 118s now. They've missed the moment. It hasn't quite worked out for Vettel. I would imagine they'll now be...
Sebastian Vettel.
Lewis hasn't been happy behind the wheel, has he, through the race, and he'll be extra unhappy with that one in terms of losing the place. Vettel did to Hamilton what Button should have done to Kovalainen, and that's gone and covered him off, basically. I think Vettel was a little bit further ahead of Hamilton than maybe Jensen was on Heikki Kovalainen, but...
He's had another little complaint, I'm being told, that saying, guys, you really should have kept me updated about Sebastian Vettel. You can't think that McLaren would have taken their eye off the ball and not seen that Vettel could be a prominent danger, could you, Martin?
Yeah, well, of course, we've got to remember that it's negotiation time for new contracts as well with Lewis and the team.
Okay, Kimi, the rain. Leaders went to lap 29 on the first stint. Leaders went to lap 29 on the first stint. You've got a little more of 30 laps to do.
So Vettel then is only 3 seconds off the lead, and he's just being reminded by his engineer Rocky, as Michael Schumacher then having to take to the escape road. First he locks the right front, then the left front as the weight transfer.
Hearing on the McLaren team radio feed, they're telling Lewis now that he has to drive to a certain lap time, and if they do, then they'll score points. If he doesn't, tries to push the tyres too hard, then he won't.
That's the point that we made earlier, isn't it, Martin? That you race a Grand Prix now, it seems, in 2012 to a set of targeted lap times to get you from A to the... have been contriving to squander point scoring opportunities. Hamilton 5th at the moment, Button not scoring again, down in 14th.
There's 2 places where Lewis will have to be careful not to damage his tyres. One is in the traction zones, just literally spinning the wheels up. You're looking for about 5% slippage to be optimum. And the other is in the corners, in the fast corners, letting the car drift and cleared immediately. And then a yellow again, according to the top of the screen.
In just before the swimming pool chicane, in a few moments' time, this is where our group will be heading to.
So debris on track. What's going on? Car's slowing down quite a lot. Yeah, a bit of debris, isn't it? Does that look Mercedes-Benz coloured?
It looked like a piece of quiet. So that yellow flag still out for the piece of front wing from the Marussia down at turn 14, and no signs that the marshals are going to be sent over the fence to get it. Down to you, Ted. What do you know?
Well, interesting battle for 6th place between Felipe Massa and Michael Schumacher. Massa's been told by his engineer Ross Smedley that Schumacher's catching him at...
Assuming we don't get that, Martin, I think we're going to get what we would have seen this time last year in the last, say, 5 or 6 laps of this race.
Well, let's hope so. Seeing a few tweets saying, oh, there's a little bit of a procession, but that's Monaco. It's always been like this. At least it's reasonably tense. It's interesting to see Byrne 8th, the rest of 9th, Hulkenberg 10th. But if he ends up having to yield.
I have a problem with the car. I don't know what it is.
Okay, Michael, we can see something on the data, but keep pushing, it may clear.
As Bono, Michael Schumacher's race engineer, and I wonder if that problem's a legacy of the first corner incident where Schumacher got caught up with a Lotus.
Well, I wouldn't think it is, actually.
Has now another 18 laps to complete. before he can think about a second win on these streets of Monaco. He looked fairly cool talking to Natalie Pinkham on the driver's parade lorry about an hour and a half before the race started. Fight for position, Michael Schumacher there, far better to just let Verne go.
Yeah, I think Michael knows his days are numbered, his laps are numbered in this race anyway. So Verne then up into 7th place, Di Resta about 10 seconds behind this particular battle. Michael, I think, being very fair there, he knows he's got a problem. Will be the first to come across any part of the track that has a bit too much rain on it. Rosberg will have time to react to that, and that goes for Alonso Vettel too. 7.2 seconds covers the top 6 now, as Michael Schumacher has the 2 Force Indias for company, and he's really struggling for pace. 1 minute 25 he did last time.
And he's picked up time on this lap, another 0.3 of a second as his teammate Michael Schumacher retires from this race. Down towards Raskas we come now. It's getting so dark you can almost see the flashbulbs going off from those sort of watching from the shadows and the bars and the restaurants down by the paddock. Schumacher is out. Rosberg still trying to make something out of this race. Oh, the gap now a second. Webber picked up time. Easily see the reading and the display on Nico Rosberg's steering wheel. 4th gear, and now 5th just before the second part of the swimming pool chicane. As Lewis Hamilton, looking at a few lights on his steering wheel, is saying that a yellow light keeps coming on the right side of the dashboard. What is that? Teams say, well, we're looking...
Gate has given him a big advantage in the race.
Okay, Lewis Webber is really slowing down up ahead of us now. Field is really bunching up for the last 10 laps of the race. 10 more laps to go.
Don't get points for qualifying though. Force India were telling me when Paul Di Resta, Martin, put that 2-stop strategy in Bahrain, had they have gone out and done a lap in qualifying, that would have been 3 laps extra. Yellow flags there, they can't overtake. Sorry, Martin.
Yeah, so who's somebody presumably went in a bit deep into turn 1 and gone round in the runoff area there. So Webber knows that if he can just be quick out of the last corner, save all his curves for there, and it was car 15 that spun
Perez
down at the first corner, Sergio Perez, and his miserable afternoon continued.
Down at turn 1, so he must have picked up a puncture in that incident with Kovalainen.
Yeah, the frustration got the better of him, didn't it? He had to have a go in the end, and they're sliding around a Raskas. They're all over the place there, so there is clearly some moisture on the track, still showing 31 degrees. But Webber then being cautious up front, as said, he's just punching the flopping around like that, the front wing.
Stewards are going to look at the turn 1 incident after the race between Perez and Kovalainen, and down to Ted.
The weather radar says no more rain, so that move of Verne's is looking increasingly hasty and ill-advised, but we'll see what happens in the last couple of laps. Meantime, Lewis Hamilton has been told to turn his engine mix and revs right up to the maximum to attack.
Yeah, last lap tiptoe.
Yes. So great maturity from Mark Webber up front. He'll do no more than he has to.
And Jenson Button trying to make the move on Heikki Kovalainen. We haven't really discussed that. Just went very badly wrong for him, but was that 70 odd laps of frustration building up to one moment?
Yeah, of course. He knew he eventually.
For what would be Caterham's best result of the season, and their own particular championship battle keenly fought down at the bottom with Marussia and HRT. But here's the battle out in the lead. Webber, Rosberg, Alonso and Vettel, who's just getting a bit detached from Alonso now. Lewis Hamilton behind them.
And Verne now 10 seconds a lap slower.
And then Bruno Senna coming to take the checker flag now and complete the point scoring positions. Jean-Eric Verne was in the middle of that pack, but sadly for him he'd been lapped after switching to intermediate tyres, and after Senna came Perez, Verne, Kovalainen and Glock, and Narain Carter-Kane and Jenson Button, who will be classified